Let us learn about transportation. The substance synthesized or absorbed in one part of the body is moved to the other part of the body by the process of transportation. Example, carbohydrates, oxygen, etc. Transportation in human beings. The process of transportation of materials in animals is called as circulation. Blood and lymph help in this process. Blood. Blood is the fluid connective tissue in human beings. It carries out the function of transport of various materials in the body. A pumping organ is needed to push the blood around the body along with a network of tubes to reach all the tissues and a system to repair the network from time to time if it is damaged. Heart. The involuntary pump. The human heart is a muscular organ which pumps blood. The heart is covered by the pericardial membrane. It is of the size of a human fist and weighs about 360 grams. As oxygen and carbon dioxide both have to be transported by the blood, the heart has different chambers, the left and the right, to prevent oxygen-rich blood from mixing with the blood containing carbon dioxide. The left half carries oxygenated blood. Such separation allows a highly efficient supply of oxygen to the body. This is very essential in animals that have high energy needs, such as birds and mammals, which constantly use energy to maintain their body temperature. Each half is further divided into two chambers. The upper one is called atrium and the lower one is termed as the ventricle. Therefore, the human heart has 4 chambers. Circulation of blood within the heart. The muscles of the atria are relaxed. The right atrium receives deoxygenated blood collected from different organs of the body via large veins called vena cava. The left atrium too receives oxygen-rich blood from the lungs simultaneously through the 4 pulmonary veins. The atria contract and pour the blood into respective ventricles which expand to receive the blood. Left ventricle gets filled with oxygenated blood and right gets filled with deoxygenated blood. Now both the thick-walled ventricles contract, resulting in pumping out the oxygenated blood to all the parts of the body through the aorta, the largest artery, and the deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle enters the lungs through the pulmonary artery for oxygenation. The valves between atrium and ventricles ensure that the blood does not flow backwards. Thus, the deoxygenated blood enters the right part of the heart, and again after oxygenation, it enters the left part of the heart, so the blood goes through the heart twice during each cycle. This is known as double circulation. The body temperature of cold-blooded animals varies according to environmental temperature. Such animals can tolerate some mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Such animals have 3-chambered heart, example, amphibians and many reptiles. Fish have only 2-chambered heart, so blood goes through the heart only once. The force exerted by the blood on the wall of a blood vessel is called the blood pressure. This pressure is greater in the arteries than the veins. The pressure in the artery during ventricular contraction is called the systolic pressure, and the pressure in the artery during ventricular relaxation is called diastolic pressure. The normal systolic pressure is 120 mm of Hg and diastolic pressure is 80 mm of Hg. Blood pressure is measured by an instrument called as sphygmomanometer. High blood pressure is also called hypertension. Arteries carry blood away from the heart and have to tolerate the force exerted by the blood which is under high pressure exerted by the heart. The walls of the arteries are thick and elastic. Veins collect the blood from different parts of the body and bring it back to the heart. They do not need thick walls as blood is no longer under high pressure. Instead, they have valves to prevent the backward flow of blood. On reaching the tissues, arteries divide and redivide into smaller and smaller vessels called capillaries to bring the blood in contact with individual cells. Exchange of material between the blood and the surrounding cells takes place across the thin walls of the capillaries. The capillaries join together to form veins which take the blood away from the organ but towards the heart. There are about 97,000 kilometers of blood vessels in the human body. Let us see how repair of the damaged network by the platelets takes place. Why does a blue-black patch appear on a bruised skin? When there is a cut on your finger, does it keep on bleeding? Why? A cut damages the network of blood vessels. A leakage in such a closed system could lead to loss of blood and loss of pressure and thus reduce the efficiency of the pumping system. The blood platelets
When a blood vessel is damaged, the platelets release substances that cause the blood to coagulate.
Point of injury. Lymph. When blood flows in the capillaries, some amount of the water, proteins, and dissolved solutes are filtered out from the blood plasma into the tissue spaces. It forms the tissue fluid. It is similar to blood plasma, except that it has very less amount of proteins in it because the capillary wall is impermeable to plasma proteins. Some amount of this fluid enters small channels called lymph vessels, and the fluid now is known as lymph. This light yellow fluid flows only in one direction, that is, from tissues
Arteries get
to the
farther
heart.
away from the heart.
Let us learn about transportation in plants. Plants are stationary. They also have many dead cells in their body. Therefore, their energy requirement is less and their transport system is quite slow. Plants need inorganic material like nitrogen, phosphorus, magnesium, manganese, sodium, etc. Soil is the nearest and the richest source of these minerals. Roots absorb them and transport them. Special tissue like xylem carries water and phloem carries food. All the parts of the plant are interconnected with these conducting tissues. Let us look how water gets transported in plants. Root pressure. Root cells are in contact with water and minerals present in the soil. Due to the difference in concentration, water molecules and minerals enter the cells of roots. The cells at the surface become turgid and exert pressure on neighboring cells called as root pressure. The minerals and water reach the root xylem and is pushed further and further to eliminate this difference. This steady movement creates a column of water that is steadily pushed upwards. However, this pressure by itself is unlikely to be enough to move the water up in tall trees, though it is adequate in small plants like herbs and shrubs or even small trees. Let us perform this activity. Take a herbaceous plant like balsam or tuberose along with its roots. Wash its roots thoroughly. Place it in a flask containing water with a dissolved red dye such as safranin or eosin. Observe the stem of the plant and the veins of the leaf after few hours. Stem of the plant and the veins of the leaf appear saffron colored. From this we can understand that the water has been transported from roots to the stem and leaves. Let us understand what is meant by transpiration pull. Activity. Take a potted plant and cover its one branch with a plastic bag. Tie the bag properly to the branch. Now place the plant in sunlight. Water it and observe the bag after a few hours. What do you observe on the inner walls of the plastic bag? We can see the water droplets on the inner walls of the plastic bags. The loss of water in the form of water vapor from the aerial parts of the plants, like stomata of leaves, is known as transpiration. Evaporation of water from the leaves to atmosphere results in a decrease in the water potential of the epidermal cells. The water which is lost is replaced by the water from xylem vessels in the leaf. Gradually, it creates suction which pulls water from xylem cells of roots, which in turn absorb more water. Thus, the pull due to transpiration helps in absorption and movement of water and dissolved minerals in tall plants during the day when the stomata are open, while effect of root pressure is important during night. Now let us study about transport of food and other substances. Food manufactured in the cells of the leaves is transported to each cell of the plant. Besides amino acids, excess food is taken to the storage organs like roots, fruits and seeds. This process is called translocation, and it takes place through phloem in upward as well as downward direction.